Hello and welcome to Gothic Reviews. Today we will be demonstrating, as promised in the past, several playing cards decks that I got from Universal Studios at Orlando, Florida, dedicated to the fascinating world of JKR's Harry Potter, of course. And I got those both of those decks at the local gift shop that was part of our wonderful Hotel Cabana Bay. Here I am featuring one of the boxes for the deck. This is the one that came with the magical creatures. They're both called the Wizarding World of Harry Potter playing cards. On the back of this one we see a few of the magical creatures that are available as a sample in this deck, and it tells us that it has 48 magical cards and they can be arranged into several card games. I never played the card games yet, but I just enjoy the artwork on those pictures. The magical creatures I like because they're so well portrayed. They also have a little saying coming with them. For example, this Lupin card is a werewolf. It also has the quote, "He's a werewolf, that's why he's been missing classes," by Hermione Granger. The quotes here are merely tokens. They basically remind us where we met this kind of a character in the book and what it's about, gives us the context. So I might not use this card later specifically for the tarot deck, so when I concentrate it might be the other one that I will also show, but the artwork here is very interesting. And there are duplicates of each card. You can see here that there's another Lupin as werewolf in this magical creatures. Oh, and here's my Book of Monsters. We have this in several capacities. We have it on a lanyard as a smaller version, and as a bigger version, a really big book that I also posted on Instagram that you might like seeing if you like Harry Potter. And it shows up again. It shows it nicely, the version with the teeth that I like best, because some of the smaller ones in the actual gift shops, they don't have quite as developed of a teeth or eye or anything like that. And this one shows it at its best, so I like those cards because of how they portray it. And of course you might recognize this one if you read Potter at all. This is Nagini, the dread snake that Voldemort uses for his familiar, and more for those of you who haven't read it fully yet. And what else do we have here? We have Norbert, the gentle Ridgeback dragon. He looks so cute and friendly. Again, several duplicates of him. And then there's the Cornish Pixie that we have the action figure. We bought it from also Universal Studios, and it's very cute. We also have him on the t-shirt that we bought and showed in our hauls. So if you want to look more carefully, watch the hauls or the pictures on the Instagram that we posted for related to Harry Potter. But he is very cute and depicted appropriately in several capacities. His colors and expression even comes through realistically. And then we have the gentle Ratty. We have several rats, but not exactly like this in this position. But his colors are not specifically gothic. He's mainly brown, so we didn't buy this version. Scabbers, also known as Peter Pettigrew, which the reference would be clear to those who completed this series, I'm sure. And then we have the Golden Snitch, an important part of the Quidditch game in Harry Potter. And the Sorting Hat. That's just delightful how it portrays its grumpy appearance and everything. It looks so realistic and lifelike. And that's how we also saw it at Hogwarts itself when we visited. It was all animated and talking, and that was exactly its expression. We also have several, like I have it on my charm over here, the Slytherin charm, and we also have it on a lanyard. So we were totally chilling with our Sorting Hats. They're delightful. And I am probably going to use this one as one of the tarot cards in my DIY because it's so cool. And here we have the Thestral, a nice looking horse, well developed. I like his sinuous neck, and his features all seem sort of archaic, almost reptilian in nature, which is my idea of how horses could have been their predecessors. Like sometimes when I think in fictional settings, it just seems so appropriate for a horse. And here we have the time turner. Also, interesting gadget, all golden, well developed. Especially the background is very charming, all the castle spires. So I'm very pleased with this deck. It was totally worth the price. It's unique and thematic. And here you have the description of the two games that you could play with those cards. And I haven't tried them, but they're probably fun. And then it goes to Aragog the spider. And here is my gentle hippogriff Buckbeat. I also have him in his stuffed animal version, and he shows up on our t-shirt, which is a nice touch. It was very fun seeing him on the Hogwarts Express train where he was majestically soaring through the skies. Really nice touch they did there at Orlando, Florida. And then the centaurs. The face of the centaurs actually reminds me here a little bit of those characters from the movie Aviator, if any of you watched them. It's kind of that kind of a Native American look, almost mixed with other native cultures, except that he has the body of a horse. Cruikshank's a delightful cat. They had a bigger version of him at Universal where he was animated and was growling and meowing and what else, and moving his paws cutely. He is of course nicely portrayed, realistic. And the Dementors. We saw them also on Hogwarts Express where they were just hinted as sparks of grey clouds. Very interesting, nice touch, and the cards showed them appropriately. And the familiar Dobby face. The Phoenix Fox, of course. And Fluffy, so cute, so friendly, to some people at least. And then there was Grob, who was Hagrid's half-brother, the full giant. And the Grindylow that is well portrayed, but my friends agreed that with my idea that it kind of reminds me of an alien in one of the movies, The Alien. At least the upper part and some of the lower parts too, so it's kind of interesting. The word itself probably originates somewhere along the lines of Grendel, since J.K.R. used lots of folklore in her writing. And Hedwig, also shown alongside Hogwarts Express. I think maybe he shows up in a cage on one of the pictures I posted on the Instagram, so if you want to check out how he looks in 3D, check out our Instagram page. Well, I think of him as a he because it's a character of ours, but in actuality it's of course a she, but still, to me it's like a he. And here is the Hogwarts Express itself. We visited it, and the number is even represented faithfully to 5972 of the train, and it's really cool. It was a nice experience, and the card shows it really well. Also, there are pictures of our experience on Instagram of the Hogwarts Express, so feel free to check. And going back to the one that was appropriately featuring the entire deck, the Hungarian Horntail. They were selling him in his pewter form, maybe on a t-shirt and other things, but he does look quite majestic, especially when he emits fire. And I think there was a version of him sitting atop maybe Hogsmeade or somewhere at Universal we got to see him and his adventures against Voldemort and such. So I think that was maybe also a ride at Gringotts where he maybe Charlie, or maybe it was Charlie Weasley that was using his powers to battle Voldemort or distract him for a second. So very fun, and they again portrayed him quite realistically. So it's just a pleasure to watch this. And there's the night boss. And finally going back to the beginning was Lupin. And that was just the one deck, so you can see that it was totally worth it, where it's unique and such a big deck. The other one has more playing cards. They introduced several characters, multiples of them as a picture, but they put different quotes from the movies that were more instructive for me many times for my tarot deck that I'm going to show eventually. Here is how the box looks for this one. It was sold in the same gift shop at Orlando, Florida, Universal Studios, and it also says the exact same name, even so I didn't even notice it at first. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and also playing cards, and only on the back I realized that there was a difference between the two. This one on the back shows Bellatrix in her youth, Draco Malfoy, and the well-popular Severus Snape. And at the front it shows Hermione and Ron Weasley and Dumbledore himself. And of course Harry Potter is at the forefront. Here's what the cards themselves look like. It appropriately starts with the Weasley twins for Joker. I like that touch. Fred and George. It also, like the other deck, it has multiple, so it shows them twice. And this is the only card in the deck, maybe appropriately, that does not have a quote associated with it. The next card, starting with 2, Neville Bottom, does have a quote. Here's how Neville looks, all serious, somber, appropriately portrayed. And even though it seems like a duplicate, the following card is another Neville, but it has a different quote from a different part of the movie underneath it. And I will concentrate more in detail on those because they're more relevant to tarot, but less so for the abstract appreciation of the art related to Harry Potter. Another Neville. There are several Nevilles, and now we start the series of Hagrids. This is card number 3, Hagrid. Also different quotes here. And Hagrid is also well portrayed, just the way we remember him from the movies, and the way he showed on Hogwarts Express when we were watching different scenes from different movies. Another Hagrid. And another Hagrid. Then we have, interestingly, Dolores Umbridge. It's cool that they put a somewhat of a less popular and rare character on it, and also portrayed fairly well the sternness and the age and the inclinations, all on an appropriately gothic background of spiderwebs in the windows and candles and magical accoutrements. And then we have another copy of Umbridge. And then we move on to card number 5, which is Draco Malfoy. His interesting, hateful expression is well shown. And the quotes underneath also, each duplicate has a different quote. I presume the 2 boys at his side are his famous cronies from the books. But one of them somehow looks more like a bully than the other for some reason to me, I don't know. Maybe that would be Gregory Goyle. more Malfoy, and then we move to Minerva McGonagall. And another duplicate of her. She's wearing an interesting pendant that I cannot quite make out, but it has nice colors. Maybe some dark tourmaline, I would say, or smoky. A few more duplicates of her. And then we move to Sirius Black. Also well portrayed in his criminal's persona. And it's interesting how many interesting quotes he has. I guess his experience taught him several interesting things, and some of them seem very wise for somebody who is known as a rebel and everything. He definitely has some wisdom to offer Harry. I really like how they made those quotes too, other than the artwork. It's slightly less impressive with people than with magical creatures maybe, but still they put very good context, very good verbal clues under the cards too. Here we move to, of course, to Bellatrix. Not quite the same version of her that I remember for some reason, maybe because this one was supposed to be from her youth. Somehow I remember better the older Bella, and she seems more interesting. This one seems more deranged, which is appropriate, I suppose, if she went crazy, according to some of the storylines. But somehow I like the other one more, where it was more a controlled madness instead of entirely rational one. It seemed like to work better in the later actress, to my mind. And then we move to Severus Snape, the Potions Master. Appropriately depicted next to his vials, where the potions will be brewed. And also several different quotes underneath. And an interesting combination of them too, where some of them are entirely personal and some relate to different aspects of the dark arts he likes to teach. So I think they've done a good job on this one too. Then we move to Lord Voldemort himself. He is also well portrayed, and that's how he showed up in our ride at Gringotts, which was fun to see, where he is using the spell against us in even an identical gesture to this one, where his fingers are spread like this, 5 fingers used, 2 of them are curved, and he was trying to cast a spell on us to do something to our train that was eventually deflected and didn't work the way he planned, but still it was very fun to go through that experience. That's exactly how I remember him, the way he is on the card. Then we have the forlorn-looking Ron Weasley. It's kind of interesting because that was not ever the way I remembered him. I always remembered him happy and stuff, and here he looks kind of almost sad. And so maybe this might be the one card that could have portrayed him in a more characteristic position, but the quotes of him are appropriate. They show the different facets of his character. And then, of course, we move to Hermione in her appropriately smug facial expression. right after she has a book next to her. Very nice. That does seem appropriate, how I would envision her in her different stages. Then we have different copies of Harry Potter himself. Interesting that his friends seem to be younger in this version and he somehow seems more mature, which maybe it's just the experiences that shaped him that gave him that kind of maturity and stuff, but seems like he would be older here than either of his friends that were shown earlier. So it's interesting how they choose, but the artwork is always impressive. And then we move to the Ace, who is of course Dumbledore himself. That was also how he was shown to us on the Hogwarts Express, where he was greeting us, or at the Gringotts ride, where he was congratulating us on a job well done. Appropriate for the headmaster, serious and wise. And that was the end of the Dumbledore, and then we go back to the beginning of the deck with the Joker card. So this completes our thorough review of the playing cards. Here is the two boxes again for comparison, if you want to see the different pictures. One of them has the picture of Harry Potter, the other one had my attention right away because it had the dragon. So, but both are really well done, and they're not identical as you've seen. They complement each other, and for that reason I wanted to have them both to see what I can do with them, or just to be inspired by the artwork, which I was. Hope you have enjoyed this review by Bedweb Gothic Reviews, and we'll see my DIY tarot deck where I show how to make those playing cards into a full-fledged tarot deck with traditional meanings, and that you can see some of the pictures that I posted on the Instagram relevant to our experience at Orlando, Florida Universal Studios. But until then, this gentle Gomez says goodbye.